A few weeks before Justin started his freshman year, he texted me and said, "I think we should be friends because I want to go to college single and have fun." Of course, I'd been the one to set a boundary from the start, based on my promise to Kim and Brian. Still, I was crushed. There was obviously more between us than friendship, and I had been sure he'd also felt the electricity between us. I'd shared so much with him. I felt betrayed. "Fine," I texted back, feeling the old walls go back up. I didn't need Justin to save me. I didn't need anyone to save me anymore. I refused to beg another man to be with me. Maybe I had him all wrong. Maybe he was hiding something. Maybe he was sexually impatient and didn't feel I was worth the wait. Or maybe, given my past, I just wasn't worth it at all. These dark thoughts began to plague me.
When you meet someone for the first time, they know nothing about your past and don't immediately assume that you have unresolved issues. But what happens when they meet you in the midst of an emotional roller coaster? And what happens if you've met your life partner, but you still have unprocessed and unresolved trauma from your past? Your wounds, still open, might bleed into your new relationship, staining and destroying a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When I was 13 years old, I experienced one of the worst days of my life. The events of March 15th, 2011 will haunt me for many years to come. I was in 7th grade, living with my auntie Cheryl. My friends and I often hung out by Old Redford Academy's exit after dismissal. Before I headed to my bus stop, I saw a few high school kids smacking one of my classmates around. 2 of the kids were hitting him, and the third was recording on his phone. The older kids noticed me watching. "What are you looking at?" they said. I knew I shouldn't have said anything, but I did. "I'm looking at you," I replied. They immediately let the other kid go. Now they had a new target. Parents and teachers got involved to de-escalate the situation, thinking it ended on school grounds. But I knew that my walk to the bus would be isolated and scary. Sure enough, the bullies began to follow me. I scurried as fast as I could, but I knew they would catch up eventually. I assumed I had to fight my way out of this. The bus stop was on 6 Mile and Greenfield in Detroit, right next to the McDonald's that most of the students visited after school. I made it to the McDonald's parking lot and took off my book bag, desperately hoping someone would intervene. Then, I saw one of the boys pick up a brick and walk toward me. The second boy was also closing in, but this time, there was no one recording what was about to happen. As I turned my head toward the first boy, he threw the brick straight at my face. Adrenaline rushing through me, I initially felt no pain. I knew that it was serious though, because the kids who just assaulted me stared in shock and laughed, possibly out of anxiety. Maybe they hadn't meant to go so far. I ran into the McDonald's, asking anyone who would listen to call my auntie Cheryl. People stared, covering their mouth in shock. I tried to remain calm. Gasping, I dragged myself to the counter. All eyes were on me, but no one was offering to help. People seemed paralyzed by shock, which only made me more frightened of what had happened to me. I kept begging for someone to call my aunt. I vaguely noticed that blood was pouring out of my mouth, and that this made it hard to speak. Then I saw one of my classmates. Her face was frozen in horror. Finally, the cashier came from behind the counter and handed me a warm, wet rag. Once I looked down to grab it, I noticed the blood all over my coat, my hands, and even the cashier. From that point on, everything was a blur until my auntie Cheryl arrived.